Hey guys, we are back again with our partners over at Fanatics Sportsbook and talking fan cash. Most sportsbooks, well, their rewards are just fluff, but fan cash is the ultimate sports currency. When you bet with Fanatics Sportsbook, you get up to 10% fan cash back on your wagers, win or lose. Did we mention that they're giving away millions in fan cash this year and that you can use that fan cash on anything in the Fanatics universe? Go check it out yourself and download the app today. Fanatics Sportsbook. Winning hits different here. Must be 21 or over. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatics Sportsbook app. Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, here with you for another episode, a live episode, coming at you at 12 noon here on Wednesday, October 1st, of the Knicks Film School Podcast. And our first edition, we're going to be doing this regularly throughout the year, checking in with the folks who actually cover this basketball team that we all know and love, of the Beat Report. And I am pleased to welcome back to the show. I feel like I have not talked to him for a while, which is frankly strange, and I blame only myself. James Edwards III of The Athletic. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you having me on first of the Beat Report. I'd imagine, I don't know if that'd be the case if I was in Abu Dhabi. I'm going to take my not going to Abu Dhabi as getting in here early, but no, I'm just joking. I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to chatting, and I love the backdrop, man. Is that that's newer, right?
Yes, it is completely. Yeah. I mean, I've had all this stuff. I mean, there's stuff here. Like, there's stuff here from like 1999. I think there's some. I had. You know what I have right here? I like. I'm taking us off the rails immediately. Oh, I have a season schedule for the 96-97 Knicks. The little pocket schedule. Yeah. Do they make pocket schedules anymore? Probably not, right?
Probably not. Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I feel like there's still like Jalen Brunson foam fingers. Like, there's still nostalgic type stuff that they do. It's a great question. I'm going to find out. I'll find out. And if so, I'll grab you one.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. It's very upsetting that like we have, I mean, you're not as old as me, but like you're old enough that you have nostalgic stuff. Like I have a lot of nostalgic stuff. Do the kids today, are they going to have nostalgic stuff? Cause like an iPad is not nostalgic.
I was really thinking about that. Like, what will it be? Like for me, I'm big into sports cards.
Me too. I was big in sports cards.
Yeah, I got when I moved to New York, I like got back into it. So,
cool.
Like I've scratched that itch. Like I'm a sneakerhead. Like I could see sneakers because over the last 10 years, right? There's no, at least I hope not. There's no virtual sneakers on the horizon.
How would that?
I don't know, but I don't know, man.
Someone will think of it. I guarantee you.
It's coming. Like it's coming, bro. It's coming.
Somehow.
That's what would be? Yeah. Is it Labubu's? What are the kids?
Oh my God. You're really getting us off the rails. My daughter, there was a little fair in by where our house was last week, and my daughter went with her friend, and we went to pick her up. I met the mom and where her friend were, and my daughter comes up to me screaming like a banshee, I need $20 now. And I'm like, child, you need to settle down. And I'm like, what? Why? What? She's like, they're selling Labubus for $20. I'm like, I didn't curse, but in my mind, what the fuck is a Labubu? Yeah. And that's when I learned what a Labubu was. So that was super exciting for me.
It's the new Furbies or Beanie. Yeah. I'd say Beanie Babies are closer, like for people our age-ish.
Yeah. It's a stupid looking thing.
You collect them. Some are like you can get rare one. I don't know. Yeah. Well, shout out to Labubu.
Shout out to Labubu. No free ads. This is absolutely what people came here to hear about. Let's talk about the Knicks. So you had an article that posted just at like 5 a.m, I think it posted. getting into some Knicks roster stuff. I actually want to save getting into that because it's going to come up organically throughout our conversation, because what we're going to do today is me and James are each going to pick our, I said top 5. We'll see how many we get through because we're only going to be on for an hour or under an hour. Top 5 preseason curiosities. And I intentionally chose those words because it's like everybody has their season-long questions. Everybody has their stuff they like, whatever are rooting for or against. This is specifically like things that, like, questions that we want to have answered for us. You as the person who covers this team, me as the person who roots for this team. At some point within the next, I guess, 22 days, 23 days, because the season starts. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so that's the gist. I mean, you're the away team here. I'm happy to give you first dibs at this if you want to just like kick us right off.
Well, that's very honorable of you. I appreciate it.
I try. I do what I can here.
Let's knock out the biggest one. Like, who starts?
Okay. It is on my. I'll say where it was on my list.
Please.
This is going to shock a lot of people. This was my number 5. I'm going to let you talk first, and then I'll explain why it's my number 5. But go.
No, I'm with you. I think the reason I say I brought it up first is because I do think the starting lineup, especially when it comes to how the Knicks handled their starting lineup last year, that is a genuine curiosity, right?
Yes.
Now, what I'll say is I don't think, given who I believe it's down to, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And let me explain.
You're reading my mind.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be Josh or Mitch.
Yeah.
Unless something happens where it's Clarkson or Deuce or whatever, right? If it's Mitch, there's still going to be a start of game spacing issue. Right?
Yes.
Now, I would say that if you start Mitch, you're at least going to get a uptick on the other end of the floor. So while you might be not addressing the spacing with the starting lineup to start halves, you're at least theoretically improving one side of the floor. And it's not a knock on Josh. It's that Mitch is 7 foot with a 9 foot wingspan and defends and is a very good defender.
Yeah.
If you start Josh, who I do believe is a starter in this league, I want to make that clear. I know there's kind of this the notion that he's not and whatever. I think Josh is a starter. I love connector type players. And that's where he brings the benefit. If somebody is going to kick this team in the butt and make them play fast, it's Josh Hart. If somebody's going to be low maintenance and kind of just fit in between the lines, it's Josh Hart. But you're not necessarily fixing the spacing issue, and you're not necessarily theoretically on paper improving defensively, right? So that's why I'm curious to see which way Mike Brown goes. Does he try to address at least one end of the floor in that change?
So you took the words out of my mouth when you were, because like we know, like here, it's not that the starting lineup doesn't matter. The starting lineup matters immensely. Like I frankly could have put this as my first question, but Mitchell Robinson is on this team. He is at the moment, as far as we know, unless you want to break any news, is healthy. He said he lost some weight. He's in good shape. So would it be fair to say, like, as long as Mitchell Robinson is healthy, he's going to play somewhere north of 25 minutes per game for this team?
Yeah, I was going to say my sweet spot's probably like 24 to 26. Okay. Yeah, 24. So, I think you're right. I think you're dead on. I think it's around there. Yep.
And then so stay with me here. Would you also say that is probably not going to change that much regardless of whether he starts or comes off the bench?
I would agree with that. Yep, I would agree.
So that's why I think for me, the who starts, because I'm with you. And you know what? If I thought for a second that Deuce McBride was like, whatever this means, like legitimately in the running to be a starter, this question probably would have been first or second on my list. I'm trying to take like things as they are. And again, I'm just going to lean on you. You're the guy who knows what's going on with this team. my read on the situation is that Deuce McBride is not, I don't want to say not in the running because I don't want to put words in your, but like it's Hart and Mitch in some order, and then Deuce is definitively like third, if in consideration at all. Is that fair to say?
That's what it feels like in talking to Mike and
Okay.
seeing the little ends and bits and pieces of practice that we've seen the last week. I just think it's very hard to start two small guards, and I know Deuce has a long wingspan, but he is a small guard with no backline defense, and I think that's just a tough sell. But listen, I think there's ways to address the spacing without having to start a spacer, like to me, if you just go the first 5 minutes of halves with whether it's Josh or Mitch, then you rotate and you can get into your spacing lineups. Like you have to figure out what you want to be about. If you want to start halves, and starting halves, I think, is one of the most underrated things in basketball that we don't talk about. Like that sets the tone, how a game starts, how a second. I mean, it really hurt the Knicks. Right?
I was about to say you don't have to look very far back.
Yeah, right. And it's hard to say it hurt the Knicks because they ended up doing. But if you watch this game, you know what I meant by that, right?
Like, look, we could call a spade a spade. There were times when they came out in the first quarter and the third quarter where you were like, do these guys hate each other, or have they never played with each other? Like, it was bad. It was just not good.
Yeah, and so I think there's ways to divvy it up, and it's the most cliche thing. To me, it's about who ends the game. No, that's what matters.
Yeah,
I mean, it matters to start. You don't want to put yourself in a hole, but I think there's it just all kind of it's dealer's choice when it comes to what Mike Brown wants to accomplish when you start games.
I completely agree with you, and that's why it should be a question, because there is like a tone setting thing, and in regards to like what you said about Mitch, because I've just like been reading what all you guys have been reporting, but also number two, to me, if I'm Mike Brown and if I start Mitchell Robinson, like, yes, that comes with all the obvious question marks, but at least like I have my defensive foundation. I know that, like, it's not like I don't have to worry about defense. Like, you're always going to worry about defense, especially if you have Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson on the floor. But like, it feels like there is a baseline there. Whereas if you don't start games with Mitch, and I completely agree with you, it's not about who starts, it's about who finishes. But like, generally speaking, the way just like rotations work and whatnot, it's easier to close games with guys who you start like the game with.
Yes.
And so there's that part of it. And then there's like, and I don't look, maybe I should be more optimistic, but like they started Cat and Brunson, Cat at center last year, and I'm sorry, but that didn't always guarantee them a great offense. So like, if I have a chance to guarantee myself something, I wonder if that's part of the calculation for Mike Brown. I mean, I guess we'll find out soon enough.
No, it's a great point. I mean, listen, Minnesota decided that putting Cat with a traditional center was what's best, and they went as far as they had in quite some time. The Knicks did it a little too late, but they decided that at some point too. Yeah. I will say this as a con to Mitch starting. We asked the other day if he's on some type of can't play back-to-backs, can't play. Do you like every 3 games you have a different starting lineup, right? Like, is that to me that doesn't seem like a tremendously big deal, but I'm not a coach and I don't have that line of thinking on why that's important not to do that, right? So if there is some type of medical staff plan for him where he maybe misses one of every 3 games, I'm not reporting that. I'm just saying he doesn't.
Sure.
He said he doesn't know if he can play back-to-backs, or he said it hasn't been relayed to him if he's playing back-to-backs. That might be something to factor in.
And that gets into something else, which is like, and we've seen Mike Brown do some interesting things in the past when like a prominent player has to miss a game. He won't always just be like, all right, the next guy in the rotation like steps up in the starting lineup. Sometimes he'll want to like preserve, everybody's roles and stuff.
Yeah.
And so like, I personally, like, we know Mitch is not going to play 82 games. Like, let's say he is the starter. Does Ariel Hukporti step in for him if he has to?
No,
like, we don't know.
That's a real thing. Like, I covered Dwayne Casey for 4 years, and when a guy in the starting lineup missed, it wouldn't be the backup. If he figured he was the key part to the bench that would start, more than likely it would be the third string shooting guard. Like, some guys are just very regimented in keeping certain lineups together. So that is a great point, right? Like, maybe they start Mitch and then Ariel Hukporti ends up starting 3 divided by 80, like 20 games a
Yeah,
season or
20
something like
games.
that. Yeah.
You know, and like you and others have reported around that time when Brown was hired, like part of the discussion was like, what's your plan for getting young players who may be outside of the rotation into like still getting them playing time, this and that. One more thing before we move on from this, and I know we're taking a long time on this, but this is it's a big issue.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to my number one. You mentioned Hart, like made very clear in front of the microphone, whatever it was last week. I view myself as a starter in this league, the whole thing. Should Knicks fans be worried about, for lack of a better word, the culture or the impact on the culture, the locker room, all that stuff, if Josh Hart does not start games?
I'm gonna say no. And so Josh went to talk about after that how he's preached about being a servant and being, and me and him did a one-on-one story last year during the playoffs.
I remember
about that. And I genuinely think that he makes his jokes, and like I saw people made when we asked Josh about being a starter versus Mitch, and Josh is like, I'll demand a trade, and Mitch is like, I don't care what happens. It's like, that's just Josh's personality. Josh isn't like, that's what we love about Josh, right? I don't think so. I genuinely think that he understands that it's not personal. I think he understands. I think he's more of a basketball mind than he gets credit for. Like, I think he understood a lot of the issues last year. I think he understands that if they go a certain way, why that is. I don't think he takes those personal. I think it's more so for him, like, I think if you're an NBA player, you have to say, like, I view myself at the highest stature, right? And I think that's what a lot of it is rooted in. You don't self-deprecate. You don't think less than, and just because you come off the bench doesn't mean you're less than, right? I think Josh, I said it, I think he's a starter. I just think this team, there are ways that they can go to maybe maximize what they have, and maybe that's not the case. But if it is the case, like, I think there's more things Mike Brown can unlock with that starting group potentially than they did last year. Will that happen? We don't know. We have to see it play out. But I don't necessarily believe that starting group last year is a super lost cause.
Yeah, no, I don't either. And like, they will obviously play together, and like you said, they'll probably close games together. You know, it's like Manu Ginobili. Like, it's the only 2 words.
Yes.
Any player who ever actually has an issue with it, it's like those 2 words kind of solve anything. Okay, I'm gonna go to my number one, and it's not the roster, and I promise I'm not stringing anybody along, because this is what has to do with your reporting from earlier today. But this is genuinely number one on my list, and I want to see in the preseason how soon do we see what I will call a different style of play from the Knicks? How often do we see it? And what does it look like? Like, Mike Brown has already warned us, like, guys, it might not be pretty at first.
Yeah.
But I want to see, like, is this a whole bunch of bullshit? Or no, I mean,
no, you're right.
Because coaches, players, everybody talks about this stuff before every season. We want to play faster. And look, it's more than just we want to play faster. This is like fundamental. We want to change how a guy who was second team All-NBA the last 2 seasons, we want to change how we use him.
Yep.
For vast majority of games. And then like the Cat's a bonus, like, stuff. So that's my number one. Cause like, to me, that's the biggest thing that's going to determine how far this team goes this year, is like, whatever Mike Brown has in mind for all this, like, is it going to work? And like, are they going to buy in? So that's my number one.
I think that's great. And I think we're in agreement there. Just before we even see a basketball dribbled, before they play a game, my inclination is that I don't know if they're going to play as fast as it's portrayed. I think we're going to see more movement.
That's fine.
Because I just think the personnel, I just don't know if it's conducive to playing up and down. I just don't. And maybe there are lineups he puts together where that's the case, and we see 5-minute stretches of Deuce, Clarkson, Josh, Shamet, and like Yabusele, like a small ball 5 or something like that, right?
Sure.
Or I just think that for the bulk, when it's nitty gritty, 5-point game with 4 minutes left, like, teams kind of like the game slows down no matter what. Like, I don't have any stats to back. I'm not sure Sacramento was playing as fast with 7 minutes in the second quarter as they were with 4 minutes in a tight game in the fourth quarter, right? Like, and that's where you having Jalen Brunson is a benefit. I think that this team is going to have more movement in its half court game, which is part of playing faster.
Yeah.
Do I think that they're going to be like this transition blur? I don't. I just think that comes down to like personnel. Like Jalen is one of the best players to grace a court, but what makes him great is how methodical he is, and you don't want to strip that of him.
I completely agree. And my defense of Tom Thibodeau and his coaching style is well documented, but even I had to admit last year, like all the possessions where Jalen Brunson gets the ball over half court, like after 7.5 seconds, and then it's another 2, 3, 4 seconds before like whatever action
in the playoffs. It was so obvious in the playoffs. Yeah.
Like that. I forget. Many people have said it is not an original thought from me, but when you're going up against, and look, there's only one Indiana, but there are other teams who are more like that, certainly, than the Knicks. And they are putting you through the ringer so many times within a single possession. And then if you're a team guarding the Knicks, it's like, all right, well, like not only do we know what's coming, but like we know we get to wait and sit back a while before it does come. I'm not saying it's like it's easy to guard because it's Jalen Brunson's Carlton, all these great players. But you cannot convince me that stuff it makes it more likely for them to score or be an efficient offensive team. It just doesn't.
No, you're right. And I think a lot of the Knicks' success last year was I'm Jalen Brunson. And yes, Asar Thompson and Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith are going to make me work, but I'm an elite shot maker. Yes, I'm Karl Anthony Towns, and you're going to make me work Jalen Duren. You're going to make me work Tobias Harris, but I'm an elite shot maker. And as much as we need to acknowledge how skillful they are, we see it all the time where those shots where Cat's corner fadeaway in Detroit on the baseline doesn't go in, or Cat step back 80-foot 3-pointer doesn't go in, right? Like that's elite shot making. But it's also elite, you need to be able to have you need to be able to like rely on the fluidity more than that, right? And I think that's where Brown is going to it. I don't want to say he's going to, like, I don't want to, one, disrespect Tibbs, who's obviously a great coach, and two, just assume that this is going to be all peaches and cream with Mike Brown before we see a basketball dribbled. But I think what we're going to see is an attempt at trying to get everybody to touch the ball, more movement, and whether or not that is favorable for the players involved, we'll find out as time goes on. Like, maybe Jalen doesn't end up loving playing more off ball. Right? So I had a stat the other day. Cade and Tyrese, they had 10% plus more assisted. Their threes were assisted more. Like 43% of Jalen's threes were assisted. That's so low. Like that's him making it work, right? Like, but that's also what we love about Jalen. So I'm fascinated to just see how this all plays out.
Yeah, you just hit on two things that I want to get to before we move on. One, the Brunson assist part of it. Like somebody asked me for the Knicks Film School newsletter like last week how my guy Ben, like we keep talking about all these spray threes and the idea that Jalen Brunson's going to be the beneficiary to that. Well, I wonder how much of an adjustment that is going to be because like, yeah, Karl Anthony Towns, he drives a fair bit. You will not find a high usage basketball player in the league who drives and passes less than Karl Anthony Towns. Look, maybe he gets better at that. We'll see. Which leaves essentially, like we know Hart does it, but again, if Hart's not in the starting lineup, and which leaves McCall and OG. I wonder how much more meat on the bone is there with those two guys in that specific aspect of their game, and does Mike Brown have a plan in place to pull that out of them? And then the other thing, which goes right hand in hand with that, like, again, referring to some of those times where you watched that starting lineup last year and it was like, oh my God, what, like these guys just, it felt to me like they don't like playing with each other.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that isn't at least a little bit connected to how they played and the fact that the ball was always in Jalen Brunson's hands. And like, you know, we all, and Fred reported on the OG, like he's a guy who likes the ball a little bit more than maybe he's gotten over the course of his career. So, like, I think all this stuff ties together.
I think you are 100% correct, and I think the key for Mike Brown to getting this team over the hump, and again, a lesser Eastern Conference helps. I don't want to discredit the Knicks' talent by saying they couldn't get there if the East was strong. But I think this is where Mike Brown comes into play. Can he get to a place where the offense is significantly, and it's so weird saying this, but unless you watch the Knicks, you truly don't, because if you're not a Knicks fan and you're tuning in and we're talking about how the offense is, you might go look up the numbers.
Yeah.
And be like, what are they bitching about? They finished 5th. But if you watched, they were very bad from January on.
Yep.
They were, the first start of the season was good, but it was not pretty. And this is where Mike Brown comes into play. Can he find a place where everybody feels involved, yet they're still able to be as efficient as they were? And that was what took them over the top last year, even when things didn't look aesthetically pleasing. At the end of the day, maybe it took them 16 seconds to get in their offense, but it usually ended with a Jalen Brunson made basket, right? So
the Knicks were a team last year that had a lot of talent. How often did you watch them and truly feel like that the talent was making, or the players were making each other better? And I know that is not meant as a disparaging statement towards anybody, least of all Jalen Brunson, who's awesome. But you didn't. And then they're like, even look at like the Cat Brunson pick and roll. And I know that's not what they're going to maybe depend on as much, but like that started off like gangbusters, and then it
got rocky.
Yeah, it got rocky. Okay. Let's take a quick break here to have a word from our returning friends. We're so happy to have them back at Fanatics Sportsbook. We had a great run with Fanatics last year, and we were even more thrilled when they were like, hey, let's re-up it for a full season. I know if you've been tuning in since the start of the live stream, you heard me talk about Fanatics at the beginning of the show, but I wanted to talk one more time about FanCash. FanCash is the ultimate sports currency, because it gives you access to everything in the Fanatics universe. You could use it on awesome stuff like exclusive apparel, collectibles, and tickets. It's real value for your fandom, so please don't settle. And when you bet with Fanatics Sportsbook, you get up to 10% fan cash back on your wager, win or lose. You just got to go check it out yourself. Download the app today. Fanatics Sportsbook, winning hits different here. Reminder, got to be 21 or over. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, 877-8-HOPE-NY. And Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatics Sportsbook app for details. And we have a fan or a super chat, which I'm going to read right now. Hey there, Knicks fans. It's good to be back for another season with Knicks Film School. Here is $53.50 in fan cash in honor of the Knicks 53.5 wins over under, currently listed on Fanatics Sportsbook. J-Mac and Trilogy, you guys, do you like the over on this season, or are the Knicks looking at hashtag 53 wins? I will preface this by saying James Edwards III is not here to give gambling advice, nor is he going out and placing any wagers on the Knicks over or under.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this. Do you have a strong feeling on this over under?
You know what I do, and I think it might ruffle some feathers.
Ruffle, go.
I'm going to say under.
Okay.
They won 51 games last year, or 52?
51.
I think they're around there again, and let me explain why. I know people maybe acknowledge a stronger bench unit, which I'm still curious to find out if that will be the case, with maybe equating to more wins. I actually think that puts you in an opportunity to lose more games. Now now you could say the East is weaker, so maybe they do a little bit better in the East than the best teams last year. But I think if they're going to lessen the minutes of the best guy, like, listen, they played their best players a lot and got to 51.
Yeah.
They're going to play, it sounds like, their best players less. So I just think there's going to be not as many foot on the necks as Tibbs did last year, and I think they hover around 51, 52 because they're going to try to preserve some guys.
I will never forget watching, because I was watching it on my freaking laptop in a room at one of the indoor water parks. I think we were at Kalahari. I went away for a Christmas break last year, and it was the Wizards game where Jalen Brunson scored a bazillion points.
The close Wizards game.
The close Wizards game. And it went to overtime.
Yep.
And I forget exactly how many minutes Jalen Brunson played in that game, but it was a lot. And I don't think Cam Payne got off the bench in the second half, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to say because it's the freaking Wizards, but if that game happens this year with Mike Brown, like, we'll see if he follows through on what he's already talking about. Do they win that game? You know, and it's like a kind of an example of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. And people also forget, and I hate to bring this up because they won. There was a 6-7 game stretch in February, March, where it was about 3 bounces away from them maybe losing 6 or 7, like finishing as like the 6th seed, where Jalen just was in the Memphis game, the Chicago game. There was a stretch there where Jalen was that's where he won Clutch Player of the Year. Is that I think it was February, March, right? And
around there, it was before he got injured. So
it was before he got injured, right?
Yeah.
And I think he got injured. He got injured first game West Coast trip, which I think was top of the month in March. But
March 6th, I think. Yeah.
As great as Jalen is in the clutch, like, is he gonna hit every game winner every time this year too? Right? Like, and just because I have them as the under doesn't mean I don't think they can't make it to the finals and win. I just think that their approach is going to be different.
I think this is a tough call.
100%. 53.5 is a good number.
I think it's the right number.
Yeah, 100%.
And the reason I think it's the right number is, despite everything we're talking about Brown's adjusted approach, it is still the East, and they do just have a lot more talent than a lot of teams.
Yeah.
All that said, I can't shoot this. Am I really going to make this my... As of now, I reserve the right to change. Sorry, Fanatics. It's kind of a chicken shit answer. As of now, I'm going to go under by a half game. I think they're going to win.
That's where I'm at.
I think they're going to win 53 games. And I think part of it is because I really don't have a lot of faith in the rest of the East. And here's why that matters on the opposite end here. I wonder if the Knicks will be able to take the last week, maybe not off, but like,
good point.
Not be pushing. Like, let's say they're locked into the 2 seed, or, I mean, hey, a guy could dream. Is there a possibility 53 wins is the 1 seed for the East this year with Cleveland's injuries already out of the gate? I doubt that, because that would be very low.
I mean, I think you make a great point, and I think that if they're locked, I mean, listen, I don't remember, like, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but if we looked at the second or third to last game of last regular season, where I think, did they have everything locked up the last week? I can't remember.
So the last game didn't matter. I think the second to last game.
Yeah,
didn't
maybe
matter.
you're right. I think the Pacers and Pistons could have caught them theoretically, like the last week and a half of the season.
Remember, there was that chicanery where it was like, wait a minute, are they tanking to avoid? I forget honestly who they were even trying to avoid, but like there was talk about that, or I don't know. It was
there was like, should they have rather play?
Andrew's chiming in here.
I have some clarity. They didn't clinch anything until after they lost the Cavs game, because that same night the Pacers lost.
That's right.
Yes,
prevented the Pacers. Right, in Cleveland.
Yes,
the Pacers the Pacers rested their guys.
Yeah.
Not in Cleveland. The Knicks played at home the last Friday of the regular season against Cleveland, had a big first half lead, and then Cavs,
blew it.
Kenny Atkinson went to the Cavs and was like, do you guys want to keep playing, or do you want to come back and win? And they were like, let's go fuck up their season. Why not?
Yeah,
and they came back and won.
Yeah, that's right.
Completing 0-10 against Cleveland, Boston, and OKC, which is my case for the over, by the way. They won 51 games without beating Cleveland, OKC, and Boston. Boston might lose 40-plus games, and I think the Knicks are, with Mitch, have actually an answer for Cleveland this year.
Well, I wonder if Jason Tatum will have something to say about that. But it's...
Well, yeah, okay. If Jason Tatum suddenly is just AI, then fine.
Yeah, but I would also, my counter to this, and again, I'm just trying to play the middle. Please. They caught Orlando during their I'm pulling people out of Disneyland, Disney World.
True.
I think they played them like 3 times in a month.
And they still lost one of those games that we were at. And was
they lost.
Oh my God!
Are you aware of the
New
KFS
York,
curse,
right.
James? Are you aware of the Knicks Film School curse? Yeah,
that's right.
We do this watch party at the Garden once a year in a suite.
God.
We haven't seen a win, even though
That's
was like you said, though, the backup Disney employees playing once, and then the year before it was the Sixers without Maxey, without Embiid, and it was like 75-73 was the final score.
It was the lowest score. I think it was the lowest scoring NBA game of the season. Not just Knicks
Holy
game.
shit.
Was,
yeah. So whatever game we go to, shout out to the folks at Fanatics Sportsbook. Again, no official gambling advice, but the other team's money line looks very good. He'll be playing the Utah Jazz, and I would still wonder how the Jazz are somehow going to win that game.
All right. On that, shout out to Fanatics Sportsbook. Great question. Thank you for that. Sorry, we're both going under. On that note, I'm gonna jump and skip you. I'm gonna give my number 2 because it is directly related to what you were reporting today. I'm curious about the roster. And who makes it and who doesn't. And that is not just from a perspective of like, do both, as you reported earlier today, it looks like, not official, nothing's official, but Malcolm Brogdon and Landry Shamet are 2 veteran players who the Knicks, as of right now, seem interested in keeping both of them. But the other side of it, which, okay, if they keep both of those guys, they have to make a trade. There's no feasible way to get under the second apron and keep both of those guys. And I love the way you wrote the piece today because, you mentioned the obvious names, your Pacome Daddiers and your Tyler Kolek and even Ariel Hukporti, which I'd be surprised by, but that's interesting. But also Deuce Pride. And you were very clear. And you were like, I am not saying the Knicks are going to trade Deuce Pride, nor should they trade Deuce Pride. And you ultimately came to the conclusion that they would not. But he is a low salaried player. And all of a sudden, like, you got, is it fair to say you have like a suddenly crowded rotation if they do indeed keep these vets? So I'm just like, I don't know what they're going to do. I have a guess, but I'm fascinated to see which way that this thing goes.
Another great point. I think the name I've heard throughout the last few weeks and month is Pacome Daddier. They've talked to other teams about him. But with that said, I've heard Pacome has had a good summer and has really kind of made it harder for them to have those conversations. Now, if you're being a realist, you just you have to do deduction here, right?
Yep.
Clarkson's not getting traded. He legally can't get traded. Yabusele's not getting traded. He legally can't get traded. I don't think they trade Mitch. I don't think that happens. I don't think they trade Josh. So you're looking at Deuce, Pacome, Kolek, Hukporti. I don't see a team sending New York a second-round pick for Kolek.
Unless it's like a top 55
protected
or something.
But even then, if you're another team, do you feel like, and maybe there's financial and cap crunch numbers that I don't understand as it pertains to other teams. If you're another team, though, like, do you look at what Kolek has shown so far? I'm like, could I just find Tyler Kolek at pick 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60? Ariel Hukporti was what, pick 60?
He was
Mr. Irrelevant, right?
Yeah, he was the last pick.
59, whatever.
Yeah, someone got their pick stripped or something. I think.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And while Ariel has had some flashes, right, he is soon to be 24 with multiple knee injuries. I don't think teams are like willing to necessarily give up a second round pick for him, unless again there are financial situations where I'm not 100% in tune with other teams. Pacome, at the very least, is 20. Is the archetype of player that is the most coveted in today's game, outside of 7-footer who can shoot threes and put the ball on the floor, right? Like a 6'8" wing.
Yep.
Has a good jump shot, good looking jump shot, though it hasn't translated. Has had some good flashes defensively, but still very much a work in progress. That's why you kind of do the deduction. It's like maybe a team could feel like that they could, let's take a flyer on Pacome. Maybe we liked him. The Knicks took him a little too high in that draft. Maybe we liked him. Let's see what we can do. And then you get to Deuce, where it's like, I don't think they do it. But if you're dead set on keeping Brogdon and Clarkson and somebody offers you something nice, is there a conversation you have there? Again, I don't think they do it. And it sounds like from everybody I've talked to that Pacome, if they end up keeping 2 vets, maybe Pacome just outperforms Shamet in the preseason, in behind the scenes, and they end up kind of diverting from the plan I'm hearing. But Deuce is still their best bench player. Like, if you're factoring in both sides of the floor, Deuce is their best bench player.
Are you
not including Josh and Mitch?
I was about to say not.
I don't know which one. Yeah, I don't know which one is. I don't know which one is coming off the bench. But from who we know is coming off the bench, likely Deuce is better than Clarkson in my opinion. Just because I value defense, and I think Deuce is at least has the ability, like he has the institutional knowledge and the ability to hit threes and defend. And it feels counterintuitive to their goal of winning a championship, in my opinion, by trading Deuce.
And Leon Rose has been now in this seat for 5+ years. Since he has been here, they simply have not traded away players that they feel can help them win games without getting back another player who they feel can better help them win games.
Right.
So that's why the Deuce thing, and I wrote about this a little bit, I think earlier this week, about if I just don't see the trade. Like, I know on Zach Lowe on his podcast brought up, like, somebody in the league had asked him, like, floated like an Eason for Deuce plus stuff deal, because like they're Eason and the Rockets haven't reached a negotiation or an extension number yet. Like, I agree the idea behind Deuce, because he's a guard, for a wing, like, you could make some sense to me to that. But again, like, Tari Eason's a $20+ million a year player pretty soon.
Right.
He's going, that guy's really good. He has like all defense potential. And I love Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride's awesome. But as you said yourself earlier, he's a small guard. Like, there is a reason, probably, I would guess, why they're not maybe giving as serious a consideration to starting him as opposed to Hart and Mitch. So whatever. I don't see that. The Dadier thing, it's like, let me ask you, what do you think that they would have needed to see by now behind the scenes to be like, no, it's too good of a lottery ticket, even if there's a 25% chance it pays off? Like, if he hits, or what do you think they are thinking behind the scenes, basically?
That is a great question, and I actually think it has more to do with the others than it does Dadier.
Interesting. Okay.
I think if he outperformed, I think if they think he's better than Shamet, he would stay. Because
if they think he's better than Shamet today,
yes, he would stay. I think that the window is now. It's really, I'm not going to say that the Knicks, because guys come back a year from now, that they can't contend for a title. That's not true at all. But this is the window. This is the year.
This is the year.
This is the year. It feels like this. And if you want to play 9 or 10, or as Mike Brown said, 9.5, 10, Shamet hits that 9.5, 10, right? And I think you should always have one eye on the future, even if you're competing for a title. Does what you envision for Shamet, his role, impact you that much that you would risk? And I'm not saying I know for a fact Dadier is going to be a good NBA player. I know that I could see a world where he's easily as good as Landry Shamet. Like, I can see that world. It's just, if you're in New York, is that sooner rather than later? And maybe there's a world where Dadier does enough that they feel like, you know what, maybe let's keep him and let Shamet walk and keep Brogdon, or opposite, right? It feels like to me Brogdon's staying. There's just such a gaping hole at point guard. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you also could tell me Brogdon doesn't look. I mean, he hasn't played much, so I don't know.
Yeah, the Brogdon thing is so interesting on so many levels. We'll see. Logically, it makes sense that they would try to drum up, like, a bidding war is too strong a word, but like getting multiple teams to look at Dadier and be like, hey, what's behind door number 3?
You like what you see?
Like, can you lessen the protections on your second round pick more than this other team? I don't know.
What would you prefer? Like, would you rather have one vet in Dadier or two vets?
I agree with you. This is the year. And I've said this before. If you think that either Malcolm Brogdon or Landry Shamet, that there is a better than not chance that the 10 minutes one of those guys could give you in a freaking game 5 in the conference semifinals. Like, if you think they could give you that time, like,
can they win you a game?
Yeah,
and like this is the freaking playoffs. What are the margins? We know what the margins are. They're razor thin.
Yep.
You know,
and they have a Thomas Bryant 2 threes in the last 3 minutes, right? Like how he did against, right? Can they do that for you? That's like a serious question that they ask themselves.
Look, and we didn't even get into the difference between Kolek and Pacome from a salary standpoint, whereas moving Pacome maybe opens the door where they could get a 15th guy on the roster in like March. Like that part of it is there too. Look, end of the day, that's why I asked you what I asked you. If they look at Dadier and they really think that there's something there that like this guy could be a starter on a good team someday, I would have
or even a rotation piece. It's not like they have the most money to use.
No, yes, even a rotation piece, which is why I would probably lean Kolek, even though that, like, I mean, it's like I did the math. It's like a $40,000 buffer at that point if you get rid of Kolek. So I don't know. I don't envy the position they're in, and I think it's a tough decision. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, if they trade Pacome Dadier, they're a bunch of ass clowns. How do you give up on a 19-year-old or whatever he is, 20-year-old wing with those tools? But like you said, the goal is to win the championship. All right. What's the next thing on your list? We're not going to get through all of them, but let's get through a few more.
This one is like a little bit more. I don't know if we'll find this out in the preseason, but the team has to get up more threes.
Okay.
Do they have to? They made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. I would like to see them get up more threes.
So would I.
Can they do that? And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier when it comes to playing faster or not. I still wonder if maybe Tibbs just didn't want to explain it to us. Maybe he just didn't feel the need. Maybe he didn't feel like this team was just naturally a team that's going to get it up, right? Like OG's not like a super high volume 3-point shooter. Mikal has averaged 5 threes or more in his career, I think 3 times, and one of them was in Brooklyn when he could do whatever he wanted. JLIII loves the mid-range. Yeah. JLIII loves getting to the hole. Cat's the one you got to unlock.
Yep.
Clarkson will help with that for sure. Clarkson will help with that. I'm iffy on, like, I need to see Yabusele shoot well again from 3. Just 1 year at 37% on a bad team. Like, I'm not going to call him a floor spacer. I really like Yabusele's game. He seems like a great guy. I'm looking forward to cover him. But I'm not going to go on a limb and say he's a floor spacer right now. Is this another situation where the roster isn't conducive to 40-plus threes a game regularly? And how do they adjust to that? Or is it, and they just never leaned into it last year?
I'm just pulling up his stats right now because I'm to try to prove what I think is going to be my point. Yeah. Here's what you're not going to get. I don't think you're not going to get, and I'm not saying Jalen Brunson himself, but a player going from what Jalen Brunson did in year 1 as a Knick, where he put up 4.7 threes per game, to in year 2 as a Knick, he put up 6.8 threes per game. I don't think that there's one player who's going to make up like the majority of the gap that they would need to make up to get to over 43s. I think
maybe Cat, but I doubt it.
Man, James,
maybe
if Mike Brown gets Cat to put up the number of threes that he should be shooting, every game, build the man a statue before he coaches, before Christmas.
You. Can he do it? That's the question. Can he do it?
The guy's been in the league 9 years.
Yeah,
for pretty much the entirety of that time, it's been a clear like, hey, dude, maybe shoot more threes.
Yeah, 100%.
If he could do it, great. I'm not holding my breath for that. That's just me. But that is a good transition to my number 3 question, which is how much does Cat play center in the preseason? How much does Cat play the 4 in the preseason? It goes directly with the starting lineup question, so that's why we don't need to talk about it too much. But like, again, there's an Ariel Hukporti question here. Like, are you looking at Cat as someone who's going to play the 4 80% of the time this season, or is it going to be 30%? Like, you could tell me it's either of those numbers, and I would believe you. And I want to know what it is.
So when it comes to that, I think the only reading the tea leaves on what Mike has said so far, whenever he's asked about Cat in the offensive side of the floor, they'll always say, we're going to get him there. We want to get him here. We want to get him here. We want to get him here. And then when he's at the 5, ...
Yeah.
Which I don't want to read too much into it. It was the first, it's been we're less than, about a week into camp. It sounds like to me that leans towards Mitch starting.
I would agree.
Just again, reading the tea leaves, I could be wrong. He hasn't said that, but when he's saying things, he's saying, and when he's at the 5 as like a secondary option. So it sounds like to me we're going to see a lot of Cat at the 4. And again, we've seen history where that worked for Minnesota when they moved him to the 4. The Knicks came to that conclusion late, but they came to that conclusion. And are you able to unlock him as a shooter with him at the 4? That's the question. And maybe we see a lot of him at the 5, right? Maybe more than we did last year, surrounded by shooters, and that could open up a lot of things. But that also might just open up more driving lanes for him, right? Like where he's getting to the hole more. So I like that point. I'm very curious to see where he spends more time at and how they use him defensively if he is a 5.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
It really is an offshoot to like my first question, which is like, how do they play? I was talking about offense. You could argue that how they play on defense is just as worth watching, especially since, and correct me if I'm wrong, did Mike Brown allude? I think you were the one who tweeted out. Allude to like, here. Well, I'm not going to put here. Say what it is that I'm getting at.
I asked him, like, do you go into the season knowing that you want to use Cat more in the drop or hedging, or is that something that you need to see play out, or is that something you talked to him about being comfortable with in which role? And he said, I think he took that as me asking about the preseason game because he did. Okay. But just based on his answer, where he was like, we're going to have a basic kind of foundational defense, like, and if somebody can't execute it, we'll have somebody else who can. So we'll see what that basic foundational defense is. I was talking more overall, but the way he answered it made it feel like he thought I was talking about just like in the upcoming game. So it sounds like they're going to have a basic defense. It sounds like they haven't really unlocked a lot of that stuff yet, or at least they're not willing to show it early. So maybe we'll have an idea what just like their basic defense is. And
it's amazing for a team that's like co-favorites to win the conference. There's a shit ton of questions. Does that basic defense change?
Yeah,
the Cats at the 5 versus
right.
The 4.
It might. Yeah,
you know, and how is that going to be for like OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges? Like, okay, Catch, or whatever, Mitch just checked in or Catch just checked out. It's a lot.
There's a lot of questions with this team, but not in like can they squeeze into the playoffs? Yeah. It's like what gets them to that next level.
This is what I don't want to devalue the regular season to the extent, but is this not what the next 82 games are for?
Yep, 100%.
Okay, let's each do one more question and then we'll get out of here. What's your give me one more question from your list?
And again, I don't know if we'll see this during preseason games because you're going to reserve guys, but how deep does he actually go with his rotation? Oh, it's kind of a combination. How deep does he go with his rotation? And how good is the bench? I forgot who I was having this conversation with. Maybe it was Bondi. I want to credit the Knicks. I think given their limited financial situation, they hit a home run in terms of getting guys who at least address needs that they have. However, if you told me that Clarkson isn't the player he was, or that the Utah situation maybe is the reason why he was shooting 41% from the field and 33% from 3 the last 2 years, and maybe being I don't know, right? Like, is him being in a championship situation going to reinvigorate him, or is he just another loser to Father Time? His last 2 years in Minnesota or Utah weren't the most efficient. Yabusele, loved what you saw last year. Philly called me and asked for a 10-day, right? Like Philly was throwing
Did
bodies.
you accept?
I should have. I really should have, but I was
it's decent payday for 10 days.
Yeah, I know, right? For 10 days. Yeah. Like, so Yabusele, and he's been great with the French national team, but it's just such a small sample size with him, right? So I don't want to like go and like, I know for a fact Yabusele is going to help this bench. I don't know that. And then you look at Brogdon, long injury history. He's played less than 40 games in 4 of the last 5 years, I believe. Is that actually an upgrade over Campaign? And defensively on that bench, and I'm going to lean yes. I'm not trying to. Brogdon has put in the work, but he hasn't played. He hasn't played a ton.
That's not a look, man. I don't know if I was captain of the Campaign fan club last year, but like the dude came in and did his job. Most
more
of
often than not. Yep,
much more often than not. So like, I don't think that should be a given. And I don't think he was hurt very much. I love the point that you're making, and it dovetails really nicely with my last question. But like you wrote with the article that you wrote with Fred for The Athletic recently, where you went through kind of some of the not issues with the bench players, but like they didn't go out and sign because they obviously couldn't, like Nickeil Alexander-Walker or Dorian Finney-Smith, like a two-way wing who could defend and like the whole thing. Like they got the guys they were able to get, and as you said, to get Yabusele on the mid-level, home run.
Clarkson on the minimum. Yeah,
awesome stuff. But to expect that those guys are like definitively going to come in and give you, again, fast forward through the 82 games, 20 plus good playoff minutes, which is why my other question I wanted to bring up is, and what are Mike Brown's initial leanings in terms of who he's going to play with who? Like, I know you said Deuce, best bench player. Is Deuce going to be the first guy off the bench? Or second guy off the bench? Like, whatever. Like, how much is Clarkson going to actually play? Is Clarkson going to be a 24-minute player? Is he going to be a 16-minute player? Like, these are things that I wonder how much we're going to learn in the preseason, but I'm curious to get the answers eventually.
I think that's a great one. Like, in my mind, I feel like if we call the sixth man the first guy who gets off the bench, I actually think that might be Yabusele. I think they maybe transition to if Mitch starts, right?
It's a great
transition to a five-ish out quicker, just to give a different look. And if you're going to try to lean into that, Yabusele, unless you're going to play OG at the 4, Mikal at the 3, Deuce at the 2, JLIII at the 1, which again, we talked about the defensive issues with that at the point of attack with 2 small guards, and then not having a traditional rim protector at the back. Yabusele, at least you get JLIII, Mikal, OG, Yabusele, and then Cat. Like, you're big on the wing. And based off last year, like, you're able to 5 out it. So given Mitch, I'm assuming Mitch will be on some type of Mitch isn't going to play 30 plus minutes a game, right? So I think they end up moving around that first. I don't know if that means he's the 6th man and ends up playing the most minutes of the bench guys, but I think that's how they attack the first substitution. That's just me spitballing and just thinking about how they'll handle Mitch.
And again, to go back to what has become the theme of this episode, it's not about the first 82. It's about whatever comes after that. And again, it was a great article you and Fred co-wrote in which you talked about, like, you have to preserve Mitch. Like there was no two ways around about it, whether that's taking back-to-backs off, whether it's playing him, in smaller segments within a game. When are those segments? Let's play this out. Yabusele, and I think it makes perfect sense. Yabusele is the first guy off the bench. Josh Hart, I would assume, would be the second. All of a sudden, you're talking about Deuce McBride is like, oh, is he your 8th man now? Like, again, the minutes might not work out that way, but it could get interesting.
It's fascinating. I think that's a great point you bring up. I'm curious to see how it plays out because there's different ways he could go, and it depends on what he values. And it sounds like he values spacing, so we'll see.
Well, and we will start to see soon enough because 24 hours from right now, the Knicks will have played a half of basketball about.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Last thing before we get out of here. Anything you want to plug, promote, talk about? You want to boast about your Tigers making the playoffs and winning a game? Anything you want?
Tigers almost blew it, made me sweat, but shout out to Scoobs, 14 Ks on the road, baby. Yeah, they're getting ready to start right now. No, I just check me out on Twitter, JL Edwards III. Check The Athletic, obviously. If you're not subscribed, there's always some type of deal going on. Appreciate you having me on. Big fan of what you do and what you guys do over at this great, wonderful channel. And thank you. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to this season. So, I'm on Blue Sky too, similar to my Twitter, but whatever the Blue Sky like add-on is. So check me out there.
I keep forgetting to post stuff on Blue Sky. I gotta get better at that. Two things before we get out of here. We have one super chat. I think Andrew's gonna put that up right now. Drew P. Doesn't Mitch being the roll man fix the spacing? I think it'll help the spacing for sure, but I just like 5 outs, 5 out. You know, do you disagree with that?
No, not at all. Like, whereas if you want to put Cat in a position to be able to drive, you would need another guy who can hang out on the perimeter. Mitch is going to be inside, so it's not. It helps, but it's not perfect.
Yeah, I think there's different ways. There's spacing and then there's gravity. Mitch, whenever he's in the game, brings a lot of gravity. But it's, again, we're talking about nuance here. But I appreciate the question, Drew, 100%.
No, it's a good question.
And then last but not least, follow us on all of our social channels at Knicks Film School. That is SKOOL. You could also support Knicks Film School in other ways, like subscribing to this very YouTube channel, turning on your alerts. You could find us on Patreon for bonus content. You could read my Knicks Film School newsletter on Substack. And subscribe, for the pod, rate the pod, review the pod, tell your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your in-laws about the pod. And we will have James back on soon. In the meantime, make sure you go and read everything that he writes over at The Athletic. James, thank you one more time. Appreciate you coming on. And that's it.
Thank you for having me, man. Seriously, I really appreciate it. Love what you guys do.
Pleasure's all mine. And everybody out there, we'll catch you for another episode very soon. Peace out.
Go Tigers.
Yes, sir.